Alright, Horror Hounds, and welcome to an episode of This Just In. Today, I thought I'd do something a little bit fun and a little bit different. In honor of my birthday, I figured I would go through and pick my favorite movie from every year since I've been alive. Some of the years were kind of tough, so I may have some extra movies in a year or some honorable mention type things, just because some years are better than others, obviously. All right, so without further ado, let's start with 1988, and we're going to give it to Child's Play. Obviously, Chucky's one of my favorites, him and Freddy, but this is when the original Chucky came out, and obviously the movie released on the day I was born. So, it only seems fitting that that would be my favorite movie from 1988. All right, 1989, I'm going with Pet Sematary. I like the original. I'd always watched it a lot when I was a kid. It kind of has some packs, a little punch to it, and it's just fun. It's just a good story, and the remake was shit. So boring. 1990. So this is one of the ones where I'm going to just give out a bunch of them. So I have Child's Play 2, which is obviously my favorite Chucky movie, and Chucky's my favorite slasher. Misery was a great Stephen King story. Kathy Bates plays an awesome role in that, and it's just a phenomenal story. I have Tales from the Dark Side, which, as of right now, I want to rewatch this here soon. I might even do a ranking on it, or let you know what I think of it now. But as a kid, and even growing up till today, this was always my favorite anthology movie. It was the one with the best stories in it, and it tied everything together very well. And then last, but certainly not least, is my favorite mob movie of all time, Goodfellas. That is by far my favorite. Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, the way it's told, everything about it. That one's my favorite. I usually revisit that one at least once a year. So 1990 was a hard year to pick. 1991, Cape Fear, the remake with Robert De Niro in it. I always liked this one when I was a kid, growing up. It's Robert De Niro is an asshole, crazy, psychotic. And he just plays the part so well. And everything I liked about the movie, the way it's shot and everything else, it is a very, very good movie. 1992 is Candyman. Don't know why, but even as a kid, from the day I saw Candyman, it's always been one of my favorites. Even when I got older, I found it in one of those little $5 boxes at like a Dollar General. Couldn't help myself, bought it because I just love Candyman. 1993. So this one, I went with Jurassic Park. I had a hard time with this year. So I went with the one I think I watched the most as a kid and one that I've seen as an adult. And dinosaurs killing people, how could you go wrong? And the special effects were amazing for back then. Still look good today. All right, 1994, I have two movies. I have what is probably still my favorite comedy of all time with Dumb and Dumber. And then what is probably one of my favorite, I guess it's like a drama type movie, but The Shawshank Redemption. Another Stephen King story. So, ironically, in the beginning of this, there was a lot of Stephen King. All right, 1995. Seven. Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman. Seven Deadly Sins. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Maybe I'll make that one of my things too. 1996. Scream. Scream revitalized the whole slasher genre. Brought it back to its great roots when it was starting to kind of tamper away. So, yeah, phenomenal movie. Watched it a ton. When I was a kid in school, I could quote this whole entire movie. 1997, we're going way out in left field. So this was a hard year for me because there wasn't any movies that I was like, oh my god, this is an awesome movie. That's definitely the one. So I went with the one that I quote the most. That's Liar Liar. Just love one line. When I get phone calls from telemarketers, I love to just answer the phone and yell, stop breaking the law, asshole. just something I enjoy. All right, 1998. I wrote down Bride of Chucky, obviously because I love Chucky. But in a close second place was The Faculty. Faculty is a great underrated movie. 1999. I wrote down 3 for this one. First place, I went with The Matrix. Obviously, The Matrix changed how movies were made with bullet time action. But it was just ahead of its time. It was so great. We don't have to talk about the sequels, though. We can kind of go away with that. Another one of my favorite comedies of all time. Still watch it to this day. American Pie. And probably one of the saddest movies I think I've ever watched, which is weird to be putting on a list, I know, for somebody who does all horror movies. But The Green Mile. Green Mile, another Stephen King story. But the whole movie, from start to finish, and what happens in it is just phenomenal acting. They bring you along for the story, and they make you really feel for the character when it comes to the ending. So, Green Mile, hard to watch a 3-hour-long movie these days. I just can't sit for that long for some reason, but it's still a very good movie. All right, the year 2000, when all of our computers crashed thanks to Y2K. I picked Final Destination because it's the most fun. There were other movies in this year, but that one was my most favorite one to watch again. 2001. This is where we're going to start kicking off my movies that Justin Long is in. So this one is Jeepers Creepers. Like I said before, I like Justin Long as an actor. He does an amazing job. I like the whole design with the creeper, and I felt like the first movie they made was very, very good. The second one is, and I didn't even finish the third one because it fucking sucked. And I've heard Reborn is complete trash, so I'm going to completely avoid it because the creeper is not a big enough icon for me to have to go out and watch all of the shit movies that were made. I'll just watch the one. All right, 2002. I went with a movie I just saw, I think last year, maybe the year before. I was very late to the party, but it was a great movie. And that's Catch Me If You Can, with Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio. About a guy who's forging checks, and forges pretty much his whole life. 2003. I put down 2 from this one, and the first one is because it is so much fun, and Freddy Krueger's in it, and that is Freddy vs. Jason. I know some people don't like it, but to me, it's just a lot of fun. A lot of people die. Freddy gets to have an awesome part. So does Jason. And they have an insanely fun battle throughout the second half of the movie. And I also put down the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I never watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as a kid. So in my memory, this was the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie I ever saw. And everything about this movie is awesome. It is by far my favorite, I think, of all the Texas Chainsaw Massacres. I have went back and rewatched the original, and I can't get into it. It's just a little bit slower paced, and there's not enough going on from me comparing it to the remake, which I know that's why some people hate the remake, because they're comparing it to the feelings they had when they saw the original. And for me, the remake is where it's at. All right. 2004. Went with Saw, because Saw had that amazing ending. And the fact that every single year on Halloween I went and saw a Saw movie for years after that. So, clearly Saw was a great movie. 2005, I put down 2. One of them I haven't seen in a long time, The Descent. I remember thinking that was a very good movie where they're doing the whole cave diving and shit like that. And then the monsters come. And then the other one I wrote down is another drama, but I like sports, and Coach Carter came out that year. And Samuel L. Jackson in the role of Coach Carter, I thought that was an awesome movie. I think I still watched it last year, and it's still a great movie. 2006, we're going to go with the Justin Long movie, Accepted. I love that movie. It is hilarious. I still quote that movie, and it's just a good time every now and again. It's always fun to have a good comedy you can rely on. 2007. I wrote down three, and they're very, very different. So the first one I wrote down was Inside, the French film. It's very dark. It goes for disgusting at times, and the whole premise of this lady wanting to cut your baby out of you while you're about ready to pop after you just had your husband die. Great psychological thriller, horror, in a sense. The next one I wrote down was Trick or Treat, which is probably my second favorite anthology movie, and they should be making a second one. I heard it's in production. Then my third one was The Mist, which I was very late to seeing The Mist. But The Mist, I love the idea behind it. I think it's a Stephen King book as well, with the monsters that are in The Mist. But the way that movie ends, if you haven't seen it, go watch The Mist. I think it's on Netflix. I could be wrong, but I thought I saw it on Netflix. 2008. I wrote down three for this one as well. I wrote down 21 because the movie about blackjack. I just find that highly entertaining, and I can rewatch that one multiple times. Eden Lake is like a horror gem. I found it, I think, last year, and I didn't know that it came out in 2008, but it was a good movie, like a very, very good movie. I would recommend it for people to see, so I wanted to mention it. It's kind of like one of those underrated gems. And I wrote down The Strangers. The Strangers was a movie I absolutely loved when it came out. I like the home invasion stuff, and that's also supposed to be getting a reboot this year, or next year, I think. Right, 2009. I wrote down three for this one as well. First one is going to be The Orphan. Twist ending. And what they do in that movie, I just think they push barriers, and it's phenomenal. Second one is The Collector. And I want to mention The Collector because The Collector does not get enough love. The Collector and The Collection are both very, very good movies. And we were supposed to be getting a third, and it hasn't happened yet. To the point where I could have swore it had a release date for 2022, and I still have heard nothing on this movie. Maybe you've heard something and you can let me know. And the third one I wanted to mention because it's one of those movies that I absolutely love, and people, when they hear it, don't always think of it the same way because it's a disgusting movie. It's absolutely disgusting, and it tries to disgust the shit out of you. But the way it's shot and the way the acting is, I love The Human Centipede. It is one of my favorite horror movies that have ever came out in the last 20 years. The way that the doctor just talks and he's telling them everything so scientifically, and he's just explaining it to them while they're laying there crying and screaming. It is like psychological horror to the next level. And I know there's those disgusting scenes that you've all seen memes of, but I can remember somebody sent me the meme where it showed them all three humans in the centipede walking, and it said, "There's no wrong way to eat a Reese's." Someone sent that to me because I knew I loved this movie, and I couldn't help but laugh. 2010. We're going to go lighter here. Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass was a different kind of action movie, and the swearing with the superheroes and everything else, at the time, it wasn't something we were getting, and it was just fun. Everything about it was good, and it was fun. 2011, I went with two movies. Cabin in the Woods. Absolutely love that movie. Great, satirical. Makes fun of the whole horror genre. Does kind of like what Scream did in 1996, but in now times where it knows what it's playing fun at, and it's making you in on the joke, but not making it terrible. The other one was You're Next, a home invasion movie again, and this is one where instead of the people on the inside being victims, one of them takes charge and says, "Fuck this, I'm going to fuck shit up." And it had some twists and turns. But overall, it's a very, very good movie. 2012. My and my wife's most go-to movie. That's My Boy. With Adam Sandler and Andy Samberg. With Donnie Berger. Vanilla Ice is in this movie. To me, this is Adam Sandler at his best in his later years. This is as close to his younger stuff as it can be. And him and Andy Samberg just play off each other so well. Absolutely love this movie. It's fucking hilarious. It's something I can rewatch time and time again. We watch it multiple times a year and still laugh at it. The other movie I was going to give a little praise to was Sinister. Sinister came out this year. Sinister was a fun, phenomenal movie to watch. Ethan Hawke plays a great role in this. And the jump scares weren't the scariest part of it. It was watching I think it's the 8mm film. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, go watch it. I believe that's. Should have looked this up ahead of time, but that's on one of the streaming services as well. Probably Netflix, because they have quite a bit of streaming horror right now because Halloween just ending. All right, 2013, the reboot-ish thing of Evil Dead. Loved it, bloody, gory, everything about it. 2014, Justin Long comes in again with Tusk. I love the wacky batshit craziness of Tusk and the body horror in it. And I also went with Creep. It's just a very good movie. Not a whole lot. Like, it's not like bombastic like Tusk is. It goes for a whole different level of uneasiness, and it does a phenomenal job. 2015, Hell House LLC. You guys just saw my review on that. If you haven't watched it, check it out. On my channel, I reviewed all 3 Hell House LLCs. 2016, a movie that I haven't been able to review yet, but I will be reviewing here in the near future, so I can also review the second one when I finally get to see it, because I did not get to see it yet, and that is Terrifier with Art the Clown. Art the Clown, phenomenal 80s throwback, blood and gore everywhere. This movie is awesome. I loved it. 2017, followed up with another clown movie. It was my favorite movie from that year, with Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise the Dancing Clown. 2018, not a great year for horror for me. So Deadpool 2 took the top of the cake. That was a great movie. It was fun. Ryan Reynolds is another one of those actors that whenever he's in something, I always check out what he's in, because he always brings his own comedy flavor. Just his persona that he plays now, the same character almost in everything. But usually it's entertaining and hilarious, and that's why I watch it. 2019, Doctor Sleep, the follow-up to The Shining. And for me, better than The Shining. I watched The Shining, I think, last year, and it just kind of drags a little bit. Too long. And it kind of lost my interest partially through. As to our Doctor Sleep, I felt like I was glued to the screen the whole way. So it is a phenomenal follow-up. 2020, a controversial movie, but I absolutely love it. I tell people to watch it. The Hunt. If you can get past all the political bullshit that's in it and not watch it as that and just watch it for the good fun that it is, this movie is awesome. Tons of people dying, tons of blood and gore, tons of shit everywhere. Cool, awesome woman fight at the end between the two main women, and it goes for broke. I mean, you think you know what's happening, and in the first 20 minutes of the movie, the whole fucking thing is turned upside down, and I absolutely love it. 2021. I wrote down 2 for this because I didn't think The Black Phone came out in 2021, but according to IMDb, it did. And I didn't watch it till this year. So, but I put it down because The Black Phone was an awesome movie. Ethan Hawke again back into horror. I love this movie, everything about it. It was a fantastic movie. Now, I wouldn't call it like horror, but it definitely has like psychological thriller to it, and it's a fantastic movie. And then the other movie I put down was Malignant. I loved James Wan's Malignant. It is superhero on acid, kind of. It's bloody, it's gory, it's unapologetic. It's probably the only time I've ever seen a film that has giallo in it that I actually liked. I'm not very familiar with the giallo horror. I did watch the original Suspiria. I didn't care for it. And maybe one of the months in next year, maybe I'll take a whole month and I'll try watching a ton of giallo films and coming up with like a ranking at the end, just to see what Italian horror is all about. Back then, and I do know that Argento did come out with a new one this year. I think called like Dark Shades or something like that. But Malignant was an awesome movie. And so far for 2022, I got 2 months left, and I have some movies to catch up on. But right now, it's Barbarian. It is Barbarian, but I'm hoping that Terrifier 2 makes it to Scream box by the end of the year because my gut tells me that's going to take the cake because I just love Art the Clown. And I love movies that are very bloody and gory and try to gross you out. Hence Human Centipede. That's why I mentioned it, because sometimes I'm in the mood for, okay, what's the most disgusting thing I can throw on the screen? Let's see how it fits. All right, guys. Well, that's every movie from the year I was born until now. I have you give me a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you haven't already. Don't forget to comment some of your favorite movies down below. And remember, rest in peace.